Good morning, children. Today we are going to start a second part of chapter 2, Lifestyle of Animals, right? And in that we are going to begin this chapter with a very interesting phenomena by the animals, that is camouflage, right? As you can read out, it is the color adaptation that helps an animal blend into its surrounding. It means it is a feature with the help of which animals they mix themselves into its surrounding by changing their body color. A picture you can see in front of you, the frogs are sitting on the tree trunk, but their color is just similar to the tree trunk. So it is very difficult to recognize them separately, right? One more example I can show you. In this picture you can see a chameleon is sitting on a green plant, right? So you can see the color of the body of the chameleon is exactly matching with the color of the plant. So the question is that why animals they change their body colors to mix or to blend with the surroundings? Why do they do that? Actually, this camouflage makes it difficult for their enemies to spot the animals. So this feature basically protects the animals from their hunting animals and also from the poachers. Okay, so this is very interesting phenomena of changing the color of by the animals according to the surrounding. Now another type of phenomena we are going to talk about is the hibernation. As you can read out, it is the state of resting in unfavorable weather conditions, right? So during hibernation, basically what happens, animals they go into deep sleep during the winters, right? So when they go for a sleep during the winters, and they can survive without eating much. How can they do that? See, the animals which undergo this process of hibernation, they eat more food during the autumn season and store it as a fat to be used during winters when they go into the hibernation, right? The very common example of hibernation is bear and the lizard. Bear which live in the polar region during the extreme winters, they sleep. They go for a long sleep during the winters. The picture which you can see in front of you is the Arctic fox, right? It has gone for the process of hibernation. So in simple terms we can say that hibernation is a long winter sleep of certain animals. And the very two important features of this is that during the hibernation the body temperature drops and their rate of breathing slows down, right? Now let's move ahead. Feeding habits. This is another topic we are going to discuss now. So we all know that animals need food to live and stay healthy, and different animals have different feeding habits. On the basis of their feeding habits, we can divide animals into three parts. This is very common. You people are studying it from class 3rd as well. So first is herbivorous, right? So these are the animals which eat grass and the other plants. A very common example is, you can say, cow. Then the carnivorous are the animals which eat flesh of other animals. Very common example is tiger. And omnivores are the animals which eat both flesh as well as plants. Very common example is a crow. This is not a new concept for you all. So let's move ahead. Now we will talk about how the movements takes place in animals. Different animals, they move in a different ways, right? Animals move from one place to another. Why do they move? In search of food and shelter, breeding places, and to protect themselves from the enemies, right? So one by one we will discuss about how the land animals move. Land animals have 4 limbs. 4 limbs means they have 2 limbs at the front called forelimbs and 2 at the back called hind limbs, right? Some of the mammals use all the four limbs to walk. For example, cow, it has four limbs, it can walk with the help of four limbs, right? While certain animals, they use only hind limbs to walk. For example, we as a human being, we use only our hind limbs for walking, right? Our legs are our hind limbs and our hands are our four limbs. So which limbs we are using for walking? Our hind limbs or our legs only. But there are certain exceptions as well, like snake is an animal which also lives on the land, but it has no legs. But I have mentioned you that it moves with the help of body scales. Now the next kind of movement is about the aquatic animals. As we know that fish have fins to swim in the water, and these fins help them to move forward and maintain balance into the water. Another animals which live in water like turtle, they have a paddle like forelimbs and the hind limbs which help them to push water and move forward, right? Then we will talk about the insects. Ants, cockroaches, all these are the insects, grasshopper, right? Then how do they move? Basically the insects have a 6 legs for movement, right? And they crawl with the help of these legs. Certain insects also have wings to fly, right? And what happened? Their 4 limbs are modified into wings. And grasshopper and locust are the insects which use their strong and long hind limbs for hopping. You might have seen grasshopper jumping and hopping. So how do they do that? With the help of hind limbs, right? Now we will talk about the movement in birds. As we all know, birds have wings to fly and their 4 limbs are modified into wings. What important other features help them to move or fly is the streamlined body. Means they have a shape like a boat, broad from the middle and narrow from the ends. You might have seen the pigeon. Its body is broad from the middle and it is tapering at the 2 ends, right? So they have a streamlined body, they have a strong wings, and other than that they have a hollow bones which make their body light and suitable for flying. But there are certain birds which cannot fly. These birds are called flightless birds. These birds have very weak wings and large body. For example, ostrich, penguin, kiwi. These are the flightless birds. Okay, now another important concept we are going to talk about is breathing in animals. Breathing is a very simple term. It means taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. And different animals have different breathing organs. As you can see in front of you, if we talk about the aquatic animals like fish, they have gills for their breathing, right? Other aquatic animals like crab, oysters, tadpoles, all of them have gills. These gills are supplied with the blood vessels and water flows over the gills, right? So these gills absorb the oxygen from water and carbon dioxide is released into the water again. Correct, children? Now we will talk about how the breathing takes place in insects. As you can see, this is a picture of a grasshopper, right? In these you can see the dot like structures on the leg part. If you can see, so these dot like holes, these dot like structures are called spiracles. So insects breathe through the spiracles, and very important thing you have to remember that their body does not contain hemoglobin. As we human beings have a hemoglobin to transport oxygen in our body, these insects, they do not have hemoglobin to transport oxygen, right? They have air tubes which help them to supply oxygen to each and every part of their body, right? Now the next picture I can show you is a frog, right? Frog and salamander are the animals which can live on land as well as in water. Then how do the frog breathe? Right? It lives in water as well as and on the land. So when frog is in the tadpole stage, right? When it is not grown up properly, it breathes through the gill like fish. It behaves like a fish. But when this frog comes out on the land, it breathes like us with the help of lungs. And it also has a special feature of breathing through the moist skin in the water. This is a picture of a salamander. This is another amphibian which also lives both on land as well as on water, right? But there are certain important features I want to tell you, that there are certain aquatic animals like whale and dolphin. They are mammals, right, that breathe through their lungs, but they keep on coming on the surface of water to inhale oxygen through the blowholes. Clear? Now children, the next important topic of this chapter is migration. Migration means to move from one place to another, and it is a mass movement. If one insect or one animal is moving, it is not called migration. Migration means the mass movement of animals. When so much high number of animals are moving from one place to another, then that is called a migration. But the question arises that why animals they migrate? Animals migrate to escape unfavorable weather conditions when there is extreme cold, right? In search of food. If they are not getting food at one place, they can move to another place. And another thing, there are certain animals like fish. They move from one sea to another sea, one ocean to another ocean to reproduce, to lay the eggs, right? Now, very common example of migration is the Siberian crane. You might have heard about it. That Siberian crane, these are the cranes which come to India, Bharatpur. Bharatpur is a place in Rajasthan where these Siberian crane, they come every year and cover the distance of 70,000 kilometers. Arctic area, from the Arctic area they come, from the Arctic Circle to the Bharatpur Wildlife Sanctuary, right? So these are the migratory birds. Another very common example of an insect I can show you, that locust. Locusts are the animals, are the insects which migrate from one place to another. They cover the distance of thousands of kilometers. Basically they are not good because they destroy the standing crops. Now one more picture is of monarch butterfly. Monarch butterfly, as you can see this beautiful butterfly, it migrates from Canada to Mexico. See how long distance they are covering. Canada to Mexico during winters and come back in summer. So children, today we have studied about how the breathing takes place in various animals, what are the different feeding habits among the animals, how do animals they move from one place to another, what is migration, what is camouflage, and what is hibernation, right? So these are very simple concepts. If you will listen to these videos again and again, you would be definitely able to understand them. All the best to all.